The Biden administration and the public officials of New York City are in deep disagreement over immigration.
New developments now in that violent attack on two NYPD officers in Times Square last weekend.
5 suspects in this brutal attack on NYPD officers have been released without bail, arrested and released.
The attack happened near a migrant shelter in Times Square.
Now, law enforcement officials say that these men were migrants. These are supposed asylum seekers. And police say if they were brazen enough to attack 2 uniformed officers, there's no telling what they'd be willing to do to the average citizen. And the city allowed them to go free.
Today, Governor Hochul said their attackers will face additional charges.
An assault on a police officer means that you should be sitting in jail, like there's an individual right now sitting in Rikers, pending your trial date.
Police do not track crime committed by the undocumented, but the attack on police officers comes as a growing number of arrests can be linked to residents of migrant shelters. Arrest records show residents living at 30 of the city's 200 migrant shelters have been arrested more than 1,200 times in the last year. City records show the top crimes include petty larceny, assault, grand larceny, endangering the welfare of a child, and robbery.
This conversation isn't really political. 80% of America believes we are heading in the wrong direction. Even New York's very liberal governor talked about deporting the 5 who were caught on camera beating up those 2 New York cops. To be fair, she doesn't have the power to deport, and New York is a sanctuary city, so her words ring a little hollow. New York City law prevents the NYPD from working with ICE. Republican Congresswoman from New York, Nicole Malloy-Torres, is with us now. It's nice to see you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, what you're seeing is city, state, and federal policy from Democratic lawmakers coming to a head, and it's really become a disaster for our communities. This is just one video that we've seen. I mean, this is something that is unacceptable. It's like going to somebody's house for dinner and you break all the china. I mean, you outdo your welcome. And the fact that the taxpayers that I represent are being forced by this mayor to continue to house these individuals in luxury hotels, provide their every need, even legal services they're paying for, laundry services, is just unacceptable. So I'm calling on ICE to deport these individuals. The problem is they got to do it on their own. They can't get any cooperation whatsoever from the NYPD.
In a statement, the Police Benevolent Association writing, attacks on police officers are becoming an epidemic, and the reason is the revolving door we're seeing in cases like this one. It is impossible for police officers to deal effectively with crime and disorder if the justice system can't or won't protect us while we do that work. This morning, the mayor of the nation's largest city with this controversial warning about the recent influx of migrants, many arriving on buses provided by Texas and Florida.
This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're still getting thousands of migrants and asylums who are coming here. And so we want to give clear messages on what's expected. The overwhelming number of people who are there, they want to take the next step in their American dream. But you do have a numerical minority that we want to give clarity to, that you can't come into our systems and be disruptive and in the neighborhoods.
More than 80% of New Yorkers say that the recent migrant influx is a serious problem.
When migrants first came to sanctuary cities, Democrats rolled out the red carpet. They pitched them wedding tents, filled them with recliners, popcorn machines, Xboxes. Leaders of sanctuary cities campaigned on the issue and boasted about all the illegals they'd let in.
Protect our immigrants. During the COVID, our immigrants stayed. They provided a service for the city, and I believe we need to continue to make sure this is a sanctuary city.
But house guests can only stay for so long before getting on your nerves. The migrants are now causing trouble in the communities that were forced to take them in.
Less than half an hour, curfews will go into effect in the city.
It's official. The city implementing a 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew at 4 migrant shelters across the city.
Dozens of migrants refusing to leave this hotel in Midtown Manhattan. This Venezuelan man saying he's tired and cold, questioning if this is the harsh reality of the American dream.
In New York City, where officials tell us resources are overwhelmed.
And you see some of these images, you see some of these people in New York City committing crimes, and the sense of entitlement on some of these illegal aliens is unbelievable. They act like they have a right to illegally come into our country, I'm sorry, you do not have that right. And if we were a country that was serious, we'd be sending these people back home to their home countries. That's how you enforce the rule of law. Biden's not doing that. He could secure the border if he wanted to, and he's choosing not to do it.
Across public hospitals in New York City over the last year, nearly 30,000 visits by migrants and 300 new babies born to migrant moms. Staff here at Bellevue Hospital tell us they're eager to help, but the numbers are tough.
This has been the hardest work that I've ever done, but it's been the most impactful work that I've ever done.
And most of the visits to the taxpayer-funded legal clinic here are by migrants.
Our clinics are full, and there are waiting lists, and people are turning people away or referring them to other places.
Randy Redkin from New York's Legal Assistance Group says so many migrants are asking for legal help on asylum representation and healthcare access. Now, she says, American citizens who need legal assistance with issues like eviction and insurance have to wait up to 10 weeks.
If you ask me, do we need more resources for legal services? I would say absolutely yes.
Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us.
City schools also affected, taking in nearly 20,000 more students.
Yes.
Parents in Brooklyn outraged after the city decided to use their kids' school to house migrants who had to be evacuated from the Floyd Bennett field.
What happened last night at Madison High School is a perfect example of what not to do. These kids and their families were punished for the failure of Joe Biden to secure our border. It is unacceptable that our schools have to accept migrants and cancel school for students who are supposed to go to school and learn every single day. Look, I think this is on the mayor's administration. I think that they've opened up the door and really rolled out the red carpet for illegal immigration here when they said, we're welcoming all immigrants, and we do welcome immigrants, but you have to do that legally. And now that they've done this, they have to come up with a plan that doesn't affect our local students, our families, our residents, our constituents, New Yorkers. This is not sustainable. It's unacceptable. We're about to spend $12 billion on this crisis.
So because of the cold weather, there's been a lot of attention on migrant families who are being evicted from local shelters after 60 days.
Exactly, Stephen, Teresa. As everyone knows, it has been freezing out here, and this new policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days has been in place for almost 2 weeks. Now, behind me, you can see the Roosevelt Hotel. This has been serving as a welcome center for newly arriving migrants, and now the reticketing center for migrant families with eviction notices.
If you watch
Our mayor is a slumlord.
City council members and immigration advocates blasting Mayor Eric Adams and his administration for implementing a policy that evicts migrant families with children after 60 days. If these families cannot find their own housing within that time, they have to return to the Roosevelt Hotel and reapply for shelter. While a similar policy for single adult migrants has been in place for several months, this new recent policy change that now impacts migrant families with children has many, including the city council speaker, pushing back against the mayor.
I urge the mayor to abandon this counterproductive and cruel tactic, and instead pursue more sound management.
Last week, the administration amended this policy so that pregnant migrants in their third trimester and women with newborn babies will not receive eviction notices until their babies turn 6 months old. In response to the rally, the Adams administration says they've had to make these drastic policy decisions because they are out of room and resources to care for such a large number of migrants, calling again for a federal solution. More than 170,000 migrants have received care since the spring of 2022, and 68,000 migrants are currently being housed by the city. Deputy Speaker Diana Ayala disagreed with the mayor that the city is out of room.
I've been in meetings where I have been told directly that one of the motives for this policy is really to make people...
Why don't y'all ship them to the White House? Load them up on buses and take them to the White House. Drop them off at the White House. Why y'all ain't do that? Y'all should have been dropping the migrants off all in Washington, all around the White House. There's enough rooms in the White House to house some of these migrants that Joe Biden allowed over here. But as y'all can see, they ain't housing nobody in the White House. And the White House got how many rooms, ladies and gentlemen? Let's go.
Uncomfortable comfortable enough. So I don't believe that the mayor is being honest.
Advocates also say that moving kids around to different shelters disrupts their education, with some kids being forced to bounce around to different schools.
They have not been getting all the help this administration claims they've been giving them. These human beings are being moved from shelter to shelter. Shelter staff have lost their mail and say that since they moved, they had to return their mail to sender. These are life-changing documents.
Now, according to a recent Siena College poll that came out this morning, more than 80% of New Yorkers say that the recent migrant influx is a serious problem.
What they're doing is they're ringing doorbells. They rang my doorbell, and my girlfriend answered, and they stuck a government-paid telephone right in the face. They're already pre-programmed in English, and it said, can I have some money? And she turned them away. There was 2 little children with them. They're going door to door. They went into Marine Park during the Christmas holidays at night. And the neighbors were concerned. They were scared. They were coming in through the side doors, ringing doorbells, asking for food, asking for money. Just this week, they stole one woman's laundry in front of her house. They're getting free Metro cards, so they take the bus into Kings Plaza to the shopping center, and they're robbing stores inside there. They're panhandling in the middle of the street. It's madness.
I mean, we feel bad for anybody that can't put food on the table when they have young kids or can't wear a warm coat in the wintertime, but I mean, this is enough. I mean, we have enough panhandlers as it is that are American citizens. We have enough thieves as it is. I mean, obviously, this city is full. It's full. There's no jobs. I thought they were coming here to work. There's no jobs here?
No, there's nothing available. There's 1,700 migrants in the Floyd Bennett fields with nothing to do. They're freezing to death in there. They have to leave their bunker area in order to wash up and take care of their needs. The children are not being schooled. It's a horrifying situation. It's only going to get worse.
And are you giving them any money, or what do you think? Does that just encourage more panhandling?
No, it doesn't make a difference. They're not going to stop. They're very incessant with what they're doing, and I don't see an end to this situation. I don't.
Do you blame Mayor Eric Adams? Because I mean, he's just handling the wave that Biden let in.
He is. He's asked the federal government for help, and it's funny that he went to a Democratic mayor who went to a Democratic president 10 times and was shown the door 10 times.
Mayor Eric Adams says the city is already running a $12 billion deficit, and it could cost another $12 billion to address the migrant crisis in the next few years.
And by the way, New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she wants to give New York City an additional $2.4 billion to help manage the massive influx of migrants that they've seen in that city. $1.9 billion would be included in the governor's 2025 budget proposal, with an additional $500 million coming from the state's rainy day fund. New York City believes the cost of providing food, housing, medical care, you name it, for all of these migrants could reach $10 to $12 billion by next year. New York Governor Kathy Hochul is calling for nearly $2.5 billion in migrant aid in her state's latest budget proposal. That's roughly 1% of the entire state budget. For New York, what does that tell you, and what should it tell us who are watching at home about how much needs to be spent in actual border states, the Texases, the Arizonas, the Californias of the world, to try to bring the migrant crisis under control?
It's extremely disappointing that she's doing this, because all that does is offers more free aid to people that cross our borders illegally, and the more free aid that you offer, the more people are going to come. So she's asking for a couple $1 billion right now. Then next year she asks for another couple $1 billion, because the problem doesn't end at the border.
But do you think that actually helps Republicans? Do you think her saying, "Hey, even New York needs $2.5 billion"? Is that helpful in Republicans' fight to say, if New York needs $2.5 billion, President Biden, White House, what do you think we need?
No, it doesn't in the effect that we're just throwing money at a problem, that money doesn't solve it. It's policy. If the Republicans jumped on this and said, hey, Kathy, give us the policy, and then you won't have to worry about this $2.1 billion, that's what we need. So we don't have to throw money at it. We have to have policy, and that's what nobody, including Kathy Hochul, is willing to give us. If she gave us policy, she wouldn't have to worry about this issue anymore.